Hey guys, hope everyone's having a really good day or evening. I want to make a quick video on exactly how you can achieve amazing sleep. Now, for me personally and objectively, sleep is super important, and a lot of people, especially when they're younger, they don't realize this and they kind of neglect getting a decent night's sleep, and almost kind of talk up about not getting sleep. I know it's really weird, but I guess that's yeah, we've all been there. But yeah, so I've come to the realization of how important getting a good night's sleep is, especially just after watching a couple videos on YouTube and also reading about in a couple books. So I want to quickly, I guess share this with you guys. Hopefully you learn something, and yeah, I guess you can, if you're not getting a good night's sleep, realize that it is super important to, and what you can do to get a good night's sleep. So why is sleep so important? Now, as a rule, sleep isn't about just feeling good during the day, right? It's not just about just like checking a checkbox, right? It's so important that the sleep quality is up there because it's across your whole life, right? So all areas in your life are impacted when you have a bad sleep. You feel drowsy in the morning. You might feel agitated. You're not going to do your best quality work. When you're working, you're probably going to want to just go back to bed and just like sit there and just curl up because you don't feel right. You might not be eating right, or you might be binge eating a little bit more. I mean, there's just so many different things, and these are things that we're seeing on the outside. So these aren't even things within our body that I guess we can't see what's going on inside. But when your organs and your muscles and everything don't get rest, I mean, we don't see this around us, but inside, it feels it. So definitely, definitely important to get some good sleep. Now, about the inside thing, what I was referring to is kind of that, yeah, that physical, emotional, and mental well-being, and even preventing disease. Now, um, yeah, there's just so many things that go into getting a good night's sleep, especially if you're going to the gym or you're an athlete. I mean, sleep will make or break your day, and for most people, even, that's getting 8 hours of good sleep a night, and we'll discuss what exactly that looks like. But yeah, it covers all areas of your life. I've noted here that good sleep will make you feel good, and people notice when you haven't slept it as well. So I'm sure you'll get comments as well when there's bags under your eyes, or you're a little bit frizzy, or you're not thinking straight. You might be even slurring your words. People notice these things, and they'll point it out, and they'll say, "Oh, you didn't have a good night's sleep," and there might be X and Y reason for it, but the reality is it's very noticeable. So it's noticeable to those around you. You feel it, and inside internally, your body feels it. So yeah, and just to end this note on why sleep is so important, I don't think you can actually live a healthy, like big picture, a healthy and productive life without getting 7 to 9 hours a night. Now, obviously, some people say, "Oh, I feel great on 5 hours." Some people even sleep till 10. But the research, just from what I've heard, the research shows that 7 to 9 is correct for everyone. And while you might feel okay getting more or less, the reality is there are things that you can't see that are going on in the background that are impacted by getting too much sleep or not getting enough sleep. So that's why the range is kind of 7 to 9 hours. Now, some people think they might be able to get 6 hours a night, and then another night, they might be able to get 10, and they kind of average out. But what I've also learned is that there's no such thing as kind of banking your sleep. It's not like a savings account. It's kind of like if you've had a bad night's sleep, that's done, and you can kind of only move forward. So the damage is done for that day. There's no way to really recover it. Like, obviously, you will recover, but that specific sleep will, the impacts of that will stay, kind of, if that makes any sense. But we'll get into that more in this video. Now that we've established how important sleep actually is, let's learn how to optimize it. So, and I mean, I'm sure you've heard a million different ways people are optimizing on YouTube, right? They have their mattresses. They might have their trackers for sleep. They might even use devices or nose. What do you call it? The things that open up your nose. Um, Maybe a chin strap. There's so many different ways that people optimize their sleep because they've realized how important it is. Now, are some of these a little bit extreme? Maybe, but regardless, they've realized it's important and they've started doing things to support that. But look, some really easy, simple things that you guys can do. You can start by creating a good environment around you for when you sleep. So they say a cooler temperature works really well. I believe it's around 18 to 20 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, having a quiet room where there's no traffic or there's no people talking around you, and then also includes like a dog barking, for example, or making noise. So a quiet room is very key. And I think also having a high quality bed. Um, I'm sure you've heard about, oh, you need to spend the most on your bed because you spend, a third of your life there. And yeah, I think that's true. I think if you can invest in a decent bed, it doesn't have to be extreme. I know some people are spending into the five digits on a bed, but just spend whatever's fair. But don't buy a cheap, mattress that's just 20 years old because you'll feel that. So it's not worth it. And if you're worried about the money, just imagine the ROI on not getting a bad night's sleep, right? Just being more productive in the day, being more pleasant to deal with, feeling better. Another way you can optimize your sleep is to address any disorders you have. I know people have spoken about sleep apnea, and also things like insomnia, right? So kind of things that prevent them from getting a decent night's sleep. Now, anything you can do to address this, and this might be through medicine, it might be through getting a sleep apnea device, maybe ordering a chin strap, whatever you can do to kind of prevent these things interrupting your sleep will be super key, and I think you'll get a really good outcome from it. So whatever you spend on that, I think you'll get it back tenfold just in getting good sleep. Now, tools are really important as well. I personally haven't done this in recent times, but I used to do this. But using my Apple Watch to track my sleep. I don't own a Whoop, so but I've heard lots of people doing that as well. And just being able to check your sleep quality. There's different, obviously, types of sleep. REM being the most important, which is rapid eye movement. Um, this is going to be a really high quality sleep. So when people say, "Oh, I'm getting 8 hours a night," right? Just because you hop into bed at 10 o'clock and you wake up at 6 doesn't mean you're getting 8 hours because there's going to be a little bit of time of cooling down. You're going to roll around a little bit. You might have some once you're actually asleep, it's like some mid sleep, and then you're going to go to your REM, and then you're going to go back to mid sleep, and then wake up eventually. So you might only get a couple of hours of REM sleep. So it's a real eye opener in terms of how you feel you're sleeping versus how you're actually sleeping. I think as well, if you can test different sleeping routines, for example, going to bed at a different time. I personally am really big on routines. I think I couldn't live without a routine. So for some people, that's going to bed at 7 p.m. Sometimes that's going to bed at midnight. It just depends. But do some testing and see what works for you. Even your wind down routine. Some people read a book before bed. Most people put their phone, or sorry, should put their phone away before bed and not fall asleep with it. People even mention, 2 hours before bed, etc. And that goes the same for eating as well. People say don't eat carbs, don't eat a couple of hours before bed. But I mean, look, if I don't, for me personally, I kind of eat whatever. But as long as I'm not eating too close to bed, say 30 minutes to an hour out, I'm totally fine. Same goes for water. But this is obviously very personalized to see what works for your situation, and you can obviously tweak and tailor from there. But there's lots of content online, so don't feel like you like if you have nowhere to start, just Google or YouTube some content, and there's going to be a bunch out there. If I was a sleep expert, I would have some too. Now, outside of sleeping right, there are some things that you should consider because you might be doing everything right to get a good night's sleep, but you're still not getting a good night's sleep. So, what kind of things could contribute to this? I think if you're not too physically active and you're not at least running or walking for 30 minutes a day. I know my Apple Watch has a little green exercise ring that tracks that. If you're not hitting that every single day, I think you're going to get not as good of a sleep just because you're not as tired and your body doesn't like it's not, I guess, screaming for rest in a way. Whereas if you're like an athlete and you're running a marathon, you're going to be passed out real quick just because you've spent so many calories and you're exhausted. I think diet is also really important. So everyone says kind of, don't drink caffeine in the afternoon, limit food 2 hours before sleeping. Again, find out what works for you. I've had coffee at you know 4 o'clock and it's still okay. My sleep is still okay. Now the caffeine's still in my system. Don't get me wrong. So I might feel okay, but maybe my body's reacting differently. So just kind of understand those things. Same goes for alcohol. Same goes for really stimulating activities, like for example TikTok, anything like that that will get your body to you know freak out a little bit. See if you can reduce those things before bed. Stress as well. I mean, maybe look at your personal life and just kind of understand what kind of things are going on that might, contribute to stress. We all get stressed through work, kids, money, health, you know, everything. You can get stressed pretty much about anything. So try and figure out, if you are being, if there is stress in your life, see what you can to address that. Or in the meantime, if there's nothing you can do, try medication. I mean, I'm not massive on medication, but that is an option. Or supplements like ashwagandha as well. I've heard of really good in this case. But obviously, see if you can address the root cause. That's always the best option. Now, I will end with this just because I know some people will say, "Oh, but X, Y, Z." Now, there's always going to be factors in your life, like for example, kids screaming all the time. There's a really noisy neighbor. Maybe you're traveling a lot and you just don't have time to sleep. There's always going to be things that will interrupt your sleep or that will stop you from getting good sleep. And while, like I mentioned earlier, you can't actually earn this sleep back. It's not like a savings account, right? So do your absolute best to mitigate or reduce these things where possible. For example, earmuffs. Maybe you're taking some kind of sleeping before bed thingy to get you to bed earlier. Whatever it is, see what you can do just because sleep is so key. And hopefully these external factors are short term. If they are something that's going to be a long term thing in your life, you might want to reassess that situation. If it means if it's a noisy neighbor, do you should probably speak to them or leave your apartment. If it's kids or a pet or something, maybe there's some earplugs or maybe some noise canceling headphones you can put on. There's always ways to get around it, but yeah, I definitely focus on addressing those external factors if that's the case. Yeah, so hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Obviously, there's a lot of things to consider, but long story short, sleep is very important. Do not, you know, don't disregard sleep. Definitely invest in getting good sleep to some degree. Obviously, we spend a third of our life asleep as well. And look, the ROI on having good sleep is immeasurable. I get really good sleep for the most part, and it's really changed my life. I feel fantastic. I'm able to perform during the day, and yeah, everything works well because of that. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know down below. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.